All right. Good evening. How are you doing tonight? It's being one of those evenings here in the disaster room. Um, already with a hack and wheeze. Good night, folks, or good evening, folks. Quasor, Paul, good to see you. Jeff, Luke. Yep. Thank you, Paul. Yeah, let's make a little background music go while we're talking. Just do that part of it. So let's see. I have no idea what's working around here tonight. Had one of the or half the network died here yesterday in the middle of the day, and so I am scurrying around rebuilding things, and some stuff is still not working. I don't have control over half the lights. Took a while for even though I tested and checked and made sure everything was working, took a while for chat to get started tonight. But I don't know. Some days I wonder. And there still looks like there's some oddity with the well, there it goes. It's taking a really long time to transfer into chat. The lava lamp is looking good. That's right. Can always almost always count on the lava lamp. So got a few things to talk about tonight. We'll start out with what's in the jam as usual. Yeah, we'll see how that works. I made a bunch of changes to the video system too, so you know, anything's possible. But I think I can still pull the DAW up and get that to work. So let's take a look. There we go. There is Ableton Live. We're in D minor as usual. I'm going to cough. There we go. Okay, so first up is the arpeggios. Let's get the go ahead and get that drone out of the way for the moment, and okay, we'll talk about that, Luke, for sure. I'm sure somebody's got an idea, and we will look forward to that discussion because I got things to talk about with products too. So anyway, what's in the jam started out with the native version of Multipoly, my arpeggiated version of recitation. Changed the arpeggiator pattern a little bit this week, so it responds a little bit different. I can't play it like I usually play the arp. So I'll tell you what, you know, Multipoly is probably one of the most versatile analog virtual analog synths out there. And you know, I just yeah, exactly, Luke. You know, I've done the Nord thing. It's okay. It's good. Nords are great for what they're great for. So I think, but if you're looking to do analog-ish sounds without doing analog, or analog sounds without doing analog, and then being able to add a dash, you know, of modern digital synthesis to it, you can't really go wrong with the Multipoly, I don't think, either software or hardware. Hey, Sean. How you doing? Good to see you. So anyway, that's the first thing up in the jam. The second part up in the jam is surprise, surprise. It's another copy of another version of this same patch, and this one is run through a healthy dose of Valhalla Supermassive, because you know that's what we do. I say. It should come up here. I don't know, like I said, things have been a little wacky today. So there we go. There's Valhalla. Not too far off from the default patch for the Gemini mode. There's a lot of times that you load up Valhalla and it just like automatically sounds good. You don't have to do anything. You just roll with it right out of the box. For the Supermassive anyway. Some of the other Valhalla plugins require a little bumping and tuning to get a great sound. But if you just go to most of the time, the default presets in Supermassive are great. Every one of them. So next up we have Wave State Native going. And this is here we go. This is I think I'm working on. It's a modified version of the Late to the Party performance that we started working with a while ago. And what I've done, I've added to this. So this was the part we did. You know, as when I did did a patch from scratch in Wave State. And this is what I was using as the drone. But there's a third layer. It's playing a little bit there. It's really not adding much when you're down low, but up high. Gives you a nice lead part, and instead of just cutting off in here somewhere, it kind of fades out as you come down the keyboard. So I kind of cross-faded between. You can see on the screen the notes that I'm playing. So I'm playing the C here, and it's mostly all the lead sound. Although the pad sound actually climbs all the way up the keyboard. But it behaves a little differently in the higher end. It seems it's really. And by the time we're down here, I guess it is that or so below the G, the fluty part is completely gone. So you can set up a nice drone and play some stuff with it. So fun for live stuff. So that's that one. Let's see. Next up I have, so the next one is another copy of Late to the Party, the original version. And this one I'm playing actually on the hardware. So I've got the Wave State hardware up for this. And this one's buried in Supermassive. And this version of Late to the Party is slightly different. At some point I've got to get these all synchronized so they're the same everywhere, but you can hear this little bit of a little more resonance on the filter on this one. So it kind of sneaks in there with that little bit that cuts through. And then, so also the next track is also, this is the Op 6 actually, hardware. Except I've really buried the Theramax patch. This is the Theramax factory patch, which I absolutely love. And this time I've just buried it in the Supermassive echo, delay, reverb thing. So, percussion is handled by that split thing that I did last week or a couple weeks before, whenever it was. So it's a combination of the session percussionist plus the Pigment's funky kind of weird bass, percussive bass sounding thing going on. So you end up with we got this thing going in Pigments, so it's kind of sequenced. Let's see if I get this to play separately. Probably not. And it's regenerating that sequence every couple times through. Now it makes a liar out of me. I think it's every 4 times I've got it set to change. Something like, or no, every 8 bars. I'm sorry, every 8 bars it's going to change that. You can see that here in the auto regen segment. So every 8 times through, it's going every 8 bars it's going to go ahead and reset this sequencer, which is really a fun thing you can do. Fun thing to do with Pigments. But every time you hit a new note, it resets it restarts the count. So that was so that got coupled up with. Whoops. There we go. That got coupled with the session percussionist to build this. And session percussionist is doing whatever it is it's doing. So let's fold this guy back up. And stop that. And then the drums themselves were just a loop. Same loop I've used before, I guess. Except slowed way down this time. It's running about a quarter speed. From the original, and it's just kind of got lots of lots. It's got a little dirt on it, just to kind of break it up, and then deep buried in ROM, just to kind of put it off in the distance somewhere. So that is it for what was in the jam. Go ahead and stop that, start that back up, and there you go. There we have it. That's what's in the jam. Looks like, see, did anybody sneak in while I was babbling on there? Let's bring the chat back in. Let's see, nothing beyond that. Yeah, Sean came in and caught that. Okay, so where do I begin? At the beginning, I suppose, but let me turn the drone down a little bit, or try to. Riedvik, welcome. Fashionably late indeed. Indeed. Good deal. Good to see you. Let me hack and wheeze again. At least I remember to mute the mic, you know? So, last week, we talked about my coming back from KnobCon and you know, all the cool stuff. It'll start. Okay. Log cabin in the wood, eh? We're going to go out, we're going to walk down to the little gate there and say Plug or XYZZY or something like that. Anyway, so last week I was talking about this guy, and how the Kickstarter was going to be. There was going to be a Kickstarter to get it going, and that it was done, ready to, basically ready, just waiting for production. So Kickstarter started the other night. Bingo, bingo, Luke. Kickstarter started the other night. I, I didn't even. It was kind of a surprise. It started while I was asleep. So woke up in the morning. The first tier, the first 20 had gone, but there were plenty of the next run or the next loop going, and so the first round was $8.99, and so he wanted. He wanted 35. His Kickstarter kickover point was $35,000. Somewhere within a very short period of time, yeah, $100 per knob. It's a little less than $100 per knob. But anyway, so $8.99 was the first level Kickstarter for the first 20 people. Then it went to $9.49. And I was poised over the button. I really was. Maybe I should go to a doctor. I don't know. Anyway, they find things. I don't go to doctors. So it does actually include the knobs. Oh yeah, all the knobs. And it's as I said last week, it's a beautifully built piece of equipment. It sounds wonderful. It's reasonably straightforward to do all the things, but I opted out, and I decided that no, I'm going to go ahead and take a pass. Now there's still like 26 days left in the Kickstarter, and so I could always change my mind because I'm that kind of guy. But but no, the thought is that or my thought is that stuff like this, especially if the unit does not have a keyboard attached to it, as Luke has mentioned, I really prefer to do this kind of thing on the computer. This kind of sound design I just like on the computer, and oh, good for you, Paul. The other side of this is that, as I've mentioned, Dawson has Contrast coming very soon. Not identical, but a very similar concept. And again, because my preference for sound design is to do it on the computer, yeah, I saw. Well, so that $200 sale or $200 off is coming from Moog. Apparently, they're feeling a little pinched. I'm guessing because it's not just at Sweetwater. It's not just a Sweetwater exclusive. Still not. And we talked about the Messenger last week. Nice synth, not my idea of what it's supposed to sound like. So or be like. It didn't jazz me. But anyway, I think this thing's going to do great. It smashed through getting its $35,000 startup by, I don't know, middle of the day yesterday, and they've the last I looked, they had raised $54,000+ of their $35,000 goal. So this thing's going to do all right. It's going to do great. And who knows, maybe down the road I'll pick up a used one or something. But I just decided now is not the time for that for me. But I will be definitely jumping on the Dawson software when that comes out. And the last I saw, that software is supposed to have an intro price of $89 and then a regular price of $149, I think. Don't quote me, but that was what was kind of floated by on the Dawson website once. So it was a real number at the time. shopping for its filter analogy next week. Okay. So anyway, that's where I am with terrain. George, good to see you. Welcome. We're just talking about, my ever shifting target mode. Um, so the other thing I talked about. Oh, that's good. That's good price. The other thing I talked about was during my visit to Sweetwater, I played with the Moog, played with the Messenger, and also played with the grandmother, and really liked the grandmother, except for the price. And so discussions ensued, and I kind of had this on my mind, or had kind of had this on my mind for the Mogi bit, because it's a pretty good copy, and it's very affordable. So this is where I was, a direction that I was thinking. But we're gonna look at another picture here. So there's the grandmother, and there's the Model 15, and these are roughly. This is pretty close to being to scale as far as comparing the size of the Model 15 to the grandmother. So there's two things here that are kind of turning me off a little bit about, and this gets into a broader discussion too. I'm looking at my notes, which are pitiful this week, but I guess part of the discussion, I should back up a little bit before I get too far off the path, or down the path. Ears perked up. Yes, they should be. So the I've said this before. I'm going to say it again. Way back when I was 10, 9, something like that, very very small. When I was very small, I had this dream. That I wanted to get into electronic music, and that I wanted a modular synthesizer. When I was small would have been the late 60s, early 70s. That's when I made that decision. And I made that decision when my dad brought home a copy of Switched on Bach, and my uncle supplied me with some other electronic music albums, all made on various big old modular synthesizers. And I said, that's what I want to do. And the edict came down from above, Father, that we're not going to do that. That's, number one, too much money, and number two, if you want to do that, you really need to know about music first, which was a solid, logical course of suggestion. And so off we went to buy me a piano. And so I had this piano for years, and I learned to play, allegedly. And what happened was that the dream got kind of distorted and diluted, and off I went down, and I became a classical pianist, and then I moved to jazz, and then I became a rock and roll keyboard player in bands, and blah 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 blah. I'm 45 years after having started playing keyboards in bands. I'm finally to the point where I have my studio, and I'm starting to make electronic music. I'm finally getting to the point, sort of, where I wanted to be. And so that's where I've came up with the idea that I'm going to actually start getting. You're funny, George. I am not a musical genius by any stretch of the imagination, but I can really kick butt in the scale of D minor, or the key of D minor. So that's really it. And I can learn to play some songs, but I'm just that's a thing that getting up with a band and playing rock and roll tunes just doesn't hold it for me anymore. And I came to the realization it's that for a bunch of years I've been doing what I don't want to do. So here I am, ready to do what I want to do, and so the idea is that I now want some sort of modular, semi-modular thing that was fixed yesterday. Daggone it. That's freaking annoying. Anyway, so let me go. I'm just going to let's see something here. Because that's supposed to be that, there's a bug in my studio too. But beyond the bugs with the equipment, there's a freaking bug flying around here. Let me make that go away. Maybe. Playing in bands was fun, but yeah, that box is checked. It has been checked, and I've moved on. Exactly. And it was fun until it wasn't, and then it really wasn't. So anyway, the course is I'm before I am to a point where I can't do this, which is going to come up fast. I'm going to pivot a little bit, and I'm going to build something semi-modular, modular in nature. And so we were comparing this. So this gets into, or I start to get into what bugs me a little bit about a lot of the semi-modular voice desktop synth things that are Eurorack compatible. See, on the grandmother, and Cyber mentioned this in Discord yesterday, but this was the thought that I was having. On the grandmother and in modular synthesis, you've got a module on the synth. That's not the only problem. We'll get there. So you got the modules on the synth, or the modules in the rack, and the patch points are right there with the module or section of the synth, in the case of the grandmother, that you're working with. So you can visually see what you're doing. You can see more or less what your signal flow is. And the knobs are big and chunky, and that's fine. I don't mind the small knobs on something the size of the Model 15 because they're similar in size to the knobs on the Pro 800, and they're fine. I adapted to those very quickly. Something like the Model 15, they're not too tightly spaced, so you can get your fingers in there. Where I have a gripe with the Model 15 and a lot of other desktop semi-modular synths is that patch bay over to the right. So there's, except for some color coding and some really tiny print, there's no clear idea of what your signal flow is. You've got a patch bay over on the side crammed full of cables. Now I get that makes it easier to get to the controls, but it makes it a little harder to visualize your signal flow. And if you're doing something where you're live patching, it's hard to know where you're going. So I kind of sort of ended up objecting to the idea that I originally had, which was going to be the Model 15 and some additional modules to kind of help it out. So that kind of axed a bunch of different things. And so it's, that kind of faded away. And so I started looking, and Jeff mentioned, again on Discord, in Discord discussions, a couple of different synth voice modules, and that discussion went on. And so there's some cool ones of those out there. Um, excuse me. No, Jeff, you're great because you get me thinking about things, and that's fine. You know, you recommended looking at the Loki, which is really cool. I mean, it's pretty close to a complete synth in. Oh man, 550 I'd have been there. Um, I'd have figured that out somehow. Um, the the Loki's really cool. It's you know it's obviously tiny. Um, yeah, but so Luke, I've patched on a full modular, um, not and relatively recently, and yeah, I yes it does get confusing if you're you know. The other thing you got to remember is I deal with wads of cable every day. All of them are the same color and all of them go to the same place. So, you know, I'm kind of used to dealing with wads of cable. That doesn't really, I mean, yes, I know if you're, um, I know that there's a lot going on. Um, I know me also, and know that I would be less prone to making mistakes if the patch points are not all clustered together in a corner. So I started looking at some voice synth voice modules, and these kind of bubble to the top. They're all very cool. The Loki is the coolest, also the most expensive. Um, the Oxy Coral is a gorgeous module. I like the Lanikai here and the Monumatic. They're all great sounding. Where some of these start to fall down, though, is they're functionally not hugely different from a Micro Freak. And by functionally, I mean you get an engine. You dial up the mode or the engine that you're using, and the knobs change to do what the things that they're going to do, but you're kind of limited to what the knobs are going to do based on what the manufacturer has said. Um, so George, you know, I deal with racks and racks and racks and racks of stuff, and so I feel you on the cable mess. But one thing I will say is as in my business, what ends up happening is there's cables get put on top of cables, get put on top of cables, and so it's kind of like, you know, I'm going to be in a room for the next 3 days that looks like the back side of the racks look like a modular nightmare, and these racks are 7 feet tall, and I guess there's probably 40 linear feet of them. So, you know, wire and and every cable in those rack is black. 5U1/4 inch is you know just bigger mess is really all it is. It's about the size of what I'm with video cables, you know, so nothing different there. Jeff, you did kind of peg it though. Here's the thing, Jeff and Sean both, you know, yes, that. That's kind of sort of what I'm looking at and thinking very, very seriously about. The Hey David, good to see you. Welcome. The 2600 is I had originally when it was mentioned a couple weeks or a few weeks ago. I think Jeff mentioned it to me, and I'm not talking Ethernet wires. I'm talking video cables and audio cables and Ethernet and all mixed together. I mean, it's just a wad of wire where I will be spending the next 3 days, and I have to take a unit apart and pull the wires out, pull parts of the unit out from through the wires. I got a huge video system router, and it's got a bad power supply. And so the power, hey Eddie, good to see you. And so the power supply has to be replaced, and also the cooling unit has to be replaced. So it's not pretty. So anyway, the 2600 is not without its quirks. It has lots of them, and my concern with and so when I first looked at it, when Jeff first suggested it, and it came up in conversation, I looked at it, and the panel graphics made no sense to me, because they don't, the big bold panel graphics don't really tell you a whole lot about what's actually happening. The secret's in the fine print. So for me, the 2600 is going to be the Behringer, and I don't know which one of the three yet. So when we get back to panel graphics, and then we'll talk about which one of the three. So the panel graphics, like I said, they made no sense to me. So I have the 2600 in software. I started fooling around with it, looking closely at what's going on, which I had not before. There are differences in functionality, or sort of, and I'll get to those. So those little orange boxes contain a bit of text and a little graphic showing what each one of those patch points does on the input side. That row, I don't really have a way to show this, but that solid row about a third of the way up, those are all inputs to whatever module that's involved. And the upper third, those little clusters, the first three modules are oscillators, and the little clusters are the outputs that aren't normaled. And there's what goes into the filter, which is the fourth section. There are certain oscillator waveforms that are normaled into the filter, and if you want something else in there, then you've got to patch it. So that's kind of cool. You get a semi-modular function. You can make noise without a single patch cable, and then you can go crazy with patch cables. So that's it. And that, once I got into it, most of it makes perfect sense. There's some weirdness in the mixer section, which is the far right two rows of stuff that comprise the mixer and effects section. So there's an amplifier, so there's some weirdness there. The envelopes, which are next to the filter, there's an AD/AR envelope, and there's an ADSR envelope. ADSR is hardwired to filter, I think, and the AD is hardwired to the VCA. And then down below you've got an LFO or two, and one of which is masquerading as a vibrato control. There's a sample and hold, there's a ring modulator and noise generator, a mult, and some logical processing, mixing, attenuverting stuff. So everything you need is in here to really do something and patch away and have a good time without having to spend much, if any, additional cash. So I really like that about the 2600 design. I have not grabbed the 2600 cookbook PDF. I will. Let's see. So the differences between the classic black and orange and the blue and the gray models, sonically there's about zero difference that I've heard in comparisons online. Now, of course, that's been subject to YouTube compression destruction. As Eddie says, the blue one has a spring reverb, the gray one has a spring reverb, and the black and orange has a digital reverb that's supposed to emulate a spring reverb. And the tails on the spring reverbs sound gorgeous. Where the digital one tails off, it gets kind of crispy and crunchy. So the black and orange looks right. I'm concerned about the legibility of the smaller panel logos compared to the as far as side. So you can control the brightness of the LEDs in the sliders. I don't care about the colors; it doesn't matter that much to me. Although what I would like, as far as color, is I would like the colors to be separated by function. So you know, it's a lot. I'd probably just turn them all the way down most of the time anyway. You know, because there's a knob on the back that lets you control the brightness. And my concern about the panel graphic legibility has to do with size. So here's another scale comparison, or pretty close to scale comparison of an actual ARP 2600 versus the Behringer version. And these aren't exact, but it's kind of sort of, you know, I found the dimensions of each part and kind of scaled them accordingly. So this thing's a lot smaller than the original, and my take on the panel graphics is that the blue and the gray are more legible than the white on orange and white on black or the white on orange particularly of the orange and black one, even though it does look so cool. But so yeah, these are 19-inch. This is a 19-inch rack. There are mods to the 2600. Okay, interesting. So anyway, that's kind of sort of what I was thinking about. What's this other note that I have here, or where I'm thinking about starting? Oh, and Quasar on SynthSeeker's Discord posted a picture for me that is really cool. Okay. I like this setup. It's kind of like an arcade game version of synthesizer. I don't know that I would use the Neutron, but you know, that's kind of a great idea, I think, for combining you know, the 2600 with some Eurorack modules or something. And that's probably the direction I think that I'm going to be heading. Of course, you know me, subject to change without notice. So anyway, that's kind of where I'm going. Like I said, it is the Behringer 2600 is a 19-inch rack mount, you know, unit. And so, you know, that and a rack, and then I like this is, like I said, it's kind of laid out like an arcade game. So you could do, you know, 3U in the bottom at an angle, like a flat kind of, you know, a more flat kind of thing with the 2600 angled back. I think that'd make a really cool setup. And the only thing I didn't like about this specific setup is that there's, if you look close, actually let me bring it up full screen. You can see that the side of that rack, it's like someone took a 19-inch rack and pushed it back in. I'll do a custom build because I can. So I think the spacing to the right and left might be a little tight for my big fat hands. But you know, conceptually, this is really cool. And like I say, custom build is half the fun indeed. You know, and I could even do, yeah, I'm sure Dina did. I didn't, you know, I didn't talk to her at NobCon. She was there. And I certainly wasn't going to mention the Behringer to her. You know, that would be unnice. Let me see if I can get this thing to work correctly again now that I've moved some things around. We'll push that. We'll see. Actually, let me hit that first. Nope, it's still not going to work. All right, we'll just kill these guys off. Anyway, I don't know. I guess, you know, I really don't know. The Korg is kind of unobtainium at this point, and if it is obtainium, it is at a price that is beyond my means. So, you know, I will have to do what I have to do. Speaking of that, you know, this means again, you know, rearrangement. You know, and okay, good luck there. Good luck there, Paul. I mean, they're out there. I mean, if I go on used sites, eBay or Reverb or something, I'm sure we can find an original 2600. But you know, it's going to be, in any case, they're going to be far too rich for my blood. And that means too that, you know, in any case, I've got a lot of stuff around here. The Odyssey's just happy to doodle on mine. Oh, there we go. So I'm that's the direction. But that means, and I keep talking about this, but there's stuff that's gonna have to leave, and I have decided for sure that all the Cobalt stuff is going. The 5S and the I'm sorry, all the modal stuff is going. The Cobalt 5S, the Sculpt, and the Craft Synth are going to go. They're nice little synths, but I just don't use them. I think all the drum machines are definitely going to go. There's a LXR02 from Erica Synths. There's a Behringer, what's it, the DR6 or whatever it is. Well, you know, Model 15s are available in stock. They're $315 or something like that, you know. For a couple of clicks, they can be mouse clicks. One can be yours in a couple of days. You know, and that was, you know, certainly a good, you know, an option. Yeah, and so other things that are on the list, I've taken the Take 5 off the sell list because I have a great time taking it out and jamming with it at Paul's, and you know, it's a fun thing to just have around easily to play with. Let's see, I mentioned the drum machines. The other thing that and this is where this is where I put, you know, the talk me down off the cliff comment. Well, the whole thing's to talk me down off the cliff, but you know, I'm actually considering selling the Polybrute. And now that you've had a moment to digest that, picking yourself back up off the floor, this is where you tell me, no, Garen, don't do it. So anyway, that's a thought, and that would obviously easily finance, everything. Yeah, what exactly? Exactly. Yeah, it's very big, takes up a lot of space. I'm gonna open a can of stuff here. Yeah, it's if this were a matrix brute, there's no way I'd sell it. And the reasons, some of the reasons are pretty superficial, like being able to tilt the panel up, because I'm going to drive camera 2 around here, and so being able to tilt the panel up. This is a little. I hope it's ready. Boom. Well, we're getting there. So yes, we're driving past just a couple of the other new things in the studio. So when I'm working on this or trying to to do this, I got to lean over to see what I'm doing. So that's kind of a drawback. So there's a comfort factor. The other thing is there is exactly zero patchability, outbound patchability on this, except via MIDI. And so I'm wanting that patchability, and unfortunately, I mean, this patches beautifully within itself, obviously, but yeah, it's huge, and as Luke says, it's big, takes up a lot of space, and if we end up moving, which is a possibility, I'm very likely to have less space, and moving things is where if we do what we're talking about or thinking about, you're limited. I'd be limited in the amount of stuff I could move, and due to size and weight. So this is not as heavy as the Matrix Brute, but it's heavy. It's 40-ish pounds of synthesizer, and again, coming around to that conclusion that the Polybrute may have to go or may go has been, it's not an easy thought, because I truly do love this thing. The person was moving. Yeah. So I'm not completely determined that I'm going to sell this, but I haven't used it. I honestly haven't used it in a few weeks. And it's just, I almost turned it on today, but didn't. So I'm still thinking about that. Anyway, that's a cliff that I need need to either be pushed over or talked down from. The Korgs, the PiKorgs will not be sold. I really enjoy them. What I so wish that the Wave State had a decent keyboard on it, or the multi-poly, either one had a decent keyboard. It's other than they would be sweet that way, but far from Boston. Well, I would say, yeah, George. New York is a. Oh, you live near the city, so I'm sure there's lots of people moving stuff around New York. Um, oh, and I didn't take pictures of it, but we've talked off and on. So anyway, that's kind of that. You know, uh, I could drive up. It's not that big a deal. I just drove to Chicago, so you know, and I've driven to Boston the long way, so you know. um, the I went into. We've talked about this. We've talked about the various guitar centers out there, and I went into my local guitar center because I had to go over to the Computer Emporium, and the guitar center is right near it. And I went into the keyboard department, and it's dismal, as I expected it would be. Mostly, you know, home, kind of home keyboardy kind of stuff, and then there was and it just. I mean, they had a couple interesting things, but the only interesting thing they had all this stuff. They had some Roland stuff. No Korg. There was no Korg at all, which I thought was really weird. They had a Moog Messenger in there, and all the rest was mostly toy stuff, except for an Oberheim OBX8. I'm like, so you got all this. They got like one Roland thing. I was at Towson, Paul. But what was interesting was one of the guys working in there is a modular nut. Who knew? You know. Oh, and the other thing they had sitting there, they had the 88 key version of the Arturia Astrolab, and just I suppose it's a little better than the 61 key that I played at Sweetwater, but not great. You know, it's the keys were really weird. I mean, it's like, you know, a typical, of course, you know, a typical height on a weighted action or real piano key is about that big, you know, and what does that mean? I don't know. It's about like that. This thing, the fronts of the keys were like this. I mean, it was just weird, just a weird keyboard. And you know, nothing, no aftertouch or, you know, it felt, they both feel toy-like, which is really, no. If you know the 12 voice Polybrute has got a fair amount of extra throw for the aftertouch, but no, this, I don't know what was going on. Just weird keys, and I don't know why they had to do this, because the keys on the new Keylab, the 49 and the 61, and I suppose the 88. I don't know. I haven't seen one of those in person, but the new keys on the Keylab are actually pretty nice. They're, I think they're a little better weighted and they have a little better feel than the older Keylab and the Polybrute. Yeah, I do use it. I mean, you hear me. I mean, you hear me use the Poly aftertouch. You know, I mean, it's I do it on this sound. You know, it's. and I'm playing that filter on each key of the chord, you know. And I've been spoiled for Poly Aftertouch, Luke, since I got my first VFX SD. You know, and that was like, oh, you know, and that had other little neat playability features too that I've not seen well implemented at all, or well implemented on anything else. You know, the VFX SD and the SD1 have the just above the pitch bend and mod wheels, they have two little buttons they call patch select, and they let you choose alternate when you set up a patch in those instruments. You have 6 voice things, and you can use those patch selects to turn which oscillators are on and off. So it's a really cool thing. So you can do things like you can switch overblown sax in and out, or stuff like that, or whatever synth thing you're trying to do. So they're very cool. Yeah, I exactly, Luke, for the win. The about reviewers dinging a synth for not having Poly Aftertouch. I think they should mention it. I don't know that they should. Whether they ding it or not, I think depends on the instrument, because some instruments, frankly, don't benefit much from having Poly Aftertouch. They just don't, and others do. And if it's an instrument that would really benefit from having a Poly Aftertouch, then it should be a ding. If it's not one that would really benefit a lot from it, then no. It's just say just say it has channel Aftertouch and move forward. You know, that's my opinion. Jeff, I played the Osmose 3 years ago at KnobCon. It is a fantastic playing experience, and and it is fun, and a lot of people say it's hard to get used to, but I don't think it was hard to get used to at all. But you know, again, yeah, no, I don't want one either. I've decided I don't want one. At the time I did. It's good for me to go look at things and then cool off a little bit, you know. The Osmose is a lot of fun. It's very expressive, hugely expressive. But so it's a and I think it's more than novelty. The problem, I guess, if you will, with Osmose and the Rolly wave keyboards and the various other MPE controllers is that there's I think at this point anyway, there's I think there's still too many vagaries in how MPE works, and so the Osmose works fantastically with their software, but setting it up with other software apparently can be a bit of a pain. I liked the Rolly, but the trick with the Rolly is that if you approach it like it's a piano or like it's a synth, then it's going to be a horrible experience. If you approach it like it's a controller that has something that lets you know where the keys are, then it comes off a lot differently. It's like the touch controller on the the touch controller on the Microfreak. You know, people hate it because they expect it. They have an expectation of what it is, and if you set that expectation that it is a keyboard, then okay, that's an analogy I don't think I've ever even conceived of, Luke. Ferret squeezed into a bicycle tire. Oh my goodness. Um, so, you know, it gets down to what do you like. Now, would I want to play only on a roll on the Rolly Seabed? No. The Seaboard would be bad. But the little 2 octave version or the 1.5 octave version, whatever it is, as an alternate style of controller, is a lot of fun. But again, you know, I'm a keyboard player. Hey, Will, good to see you. Um, the Eurorack discussion, Will, was kind of brief. I was kind of surprised that you know I was kind of surprised at the relative lack of response. But anyway, yeah, it's focused. That's exactly right. Yeah, it's focused on the BARP, the Behringer Arp, uh, and how it would play in with some additional Eurorack stuff to be determined. So just to back up, Will, the original thought had been to grab one of these guys and do like another 3U rack along with it for additional bits and bobs, and then you know go. And my objection turned to this and a lot of the other modular or desktop type module synths ends up being that my brain wants the patch points to be close to the thing you're patching. And in a so the kind of the anyway, something I like the patch points to be close to what it is you're patching. That's me. And I know that ends up with spaghetti all over your panel, but that's fine. I think that's fine. That's kind of sort of to me part of the charm, if you will. And there's plenty of patch points. It's plenty patchable. Although if you just turn the thing on and put the appropriate sliders in the appropriate position, it will make a sound. The mixer section throws some people off apparently when they first getting started. So anyway, so that was that's really where all the modular discussion ended up going. God. And so, Will, I think you probably saw this picture, and that I likened to an arcade game. I really like that concept, although I would use, probably different modules in the lower section. So anyway, that's kind of where that ended up going. So anyway, it is. I like the blue one too. I like that's the one I'm leaning towards, Luke. The blue Marvin or whatever it's called. That's the direction I'm leaning. I think. I know the black and orange is classic, but I think it's going to be. I think the black and orange is going to be hard to read, honestly. The contrasts are odd. I know it's classic. I know it's the classic design, and who knows? And if at some point you will tune in, and here I'll be with the black and orange, but we'll see. Personality test. That's a good one. So anyway, let's see. I think that's everything that I wanted to chatter about. I did real quick. I did decide, I think, what my direction is going to be for the performance in November. It has changed since we last talked, because my idea of the of joining the Pro 800 with something semi-modular isn't going to happen in time. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to base the performance on the wave state, and that fits really into the way it's going to fit well, I think, into the way I like to work anyway. I can do all the patch design, all the sound design, performances, design them on the computer, move them over to the hardware for the actual performance. So I'm looking forward to that a lot. And since the wave state is already racked to the Op6, I'll probably throw the Op6 in there as well. What is your quest, Luke? Besides to dream the impossible dream. Oh, that's right. Old school USB A to A. A USB A to A that's not a transfer cable. So what are you trying to hook up, Luke? Specifically. Because A to A is kind of a weird, except for transfer, A to A is kind of a weird cable. They're not typical. Old piece of modular hardware to a computer. So this is going to be A to A, not transfer. I have seen some hard drive enclosures, some older hard drive enclosures that had used an A connector on them, and I have an A to A. I have an A to A cable. I don't know where it came from, though. I don't know what its purpose in life was when I got it, or where I got it from. Question about the synth, or the hardware. Yeah, I mean, it's not like HDMI where they make little, little connectors for doing extension where you can just plug two B ports in and get something. I'm just trying to think. I'm trying to think where you might be able to get one. I would look. Micro Center might be able to help. I'm trying. Like I said, I'm trying to remember where I got this one cable. He wants male. He needs male to male, Paul. Male to females are a dime a dozen. He needs a male to a male. That's the weird one. I mean, and I could, So, hang tight. It must be in the other bin. I had my hands on it the other day. I mean, I have one of the things. Yeah, it's in one of those bins over there. Probably the deeper one. Male, female, male, and male is male and male. Okay, he needs the first male to male to be able to go male to be able to extend out a male to female. You know, that's the trick. Anyway, all right. I will, Luke. I will look in the bin and see. I can send mine up to you to see if it works, and then while that's going on, I can see if I can figure out where I got it. We'll chat on that offline. In the meantime, it's 9:27, and Jeff is up in a couple of minutes. I believe. I don't know. It's been a weird week. I don't know if I linked Jeff's channel this week or not. I think I'm trying to do that, to be better about that. Yep. Jeff is up. So I am going to crank up the tunes here and play out. And I thank everybody for coming. We'll talk more about this stuff, I'm sure. Terrible about scheduling. I'm going to got it. As we move forward, I'm going to be for the next few weeks anyway. I'm going to be heavier into actually getting ready for this performance. So we'll see what happens on the streams. Thanks everybody for coming, and we shall see you all in a week. Thanks.